Drag queens on the beach. Drag queens on the beach. Hey, sexy. Look at you rocking it. Say yeah, honey. Hey guys, it's your girl, Mariah Karina, coming at you from the Thailand Gulf Coast. I feel like I just discovered something really fundamental about humans and human relating. And it's that it's very easy to identify with the part of us that feels like it has less power, or the part of us that feels like it's a victim. And it's very, very challenging to be able to identify the places where we do have power. And I think that this is part of the nature of power and privilege, is that it's invisible. Like, if you're a white person, you don't have to think about race. If you're a man, you don't have to care about paying attention to women's feedback. But there are many other less obvious kinds of power that are contextual, or that exist relationally between people, like being a pretty girl, or having more ease with money, or having a significant other, like having a spiritual connection, like knowing how to swim. There are all kinds of really subtle power dynamics that it's really easy to be unaware of. And often we're reacting to unconscious power in other people and we don't even realize it. We just feel upset or victimized and we don't know why. And here's the thing. I look at the most intractable, seemingly impossible conflicts between people and in the world. I mean, Palestine and Israel, immigration and people who are against immigration, most divorces. And the one pattern that I see, the one common thing in all of these seemingly impossible conflicts, is that both sides are identifying as the victim, and both sides are having a very hard time seeing where it is that they actually have power. And often, when one side feels like they're the victim, they go about trying to prove they're right, often by going for how the other side did them wrong and attacked them. But in doing that, in like criticizing and going for the other side, it looks a whole lot like attacking the other side. And so now the other side feels attacked and the whole thing just cycles. And then this whole thing gets compounded by trauma. Right? Where one of the mechanisms, one of the things that trauma does is it almost transports us through space and time back into that moment where the trauma happened. So someone might be standing with you right there in the present, here and now, but their mind is back in their trauma state, right? Like, I have this person who I know who grew up super poor, and now they have a lot of money. They did good for themselves and they got successful, but they are still in that trauma holding pattern of not having any money, and so they can't even see or experience the money that they do have. And I think this is what's happening in places like Palestine and Israel, where Jewish people, and hey, I'm Jewish, I'm allowed to comment, Jewish people are still so stuck in the past traumas that happened to them that they can't see the places where they have power now. And I feel it sometimes when I talk to my Jewish relatives, where you get on about Israel and about how there might be a difference in the power that the Israeli government has versus the Palestinian people. And it's like some look glazes over in their eyes and it's like, no, they're out to get us. They're out to get us. And that's fucking trauma. So I think trauma in a big sense, and I think especially when it comes to our personal relationships, just like history in a more casual or general sense, is affecting our ability to see things clearly, and affecting our ability, most importantly, to see the subtle or maybe even obvious places where we have power. I'll tell you a story. Recently, this guy picked me up on a motorbike and we went to a place and I ended up breaking up with him. And then I offered to take a taxi or walk back. And he said, no, fuck it, I'll give you a ride. And then afterwards, he was saying that that was actually a power grab on my part. Like, I'd already taken all the power in the relationship by breaking up with him. And to put him in a position where I put the ball in his court about whether or not he was going to give me a ride was like kind of kicking him while he's down, like another attempt to get power on top of that. in RSD, Real Social Dynamics, and pick up what this is called. Apparently, I didn't know this until last night. It's called compliance, where like women, right, probably because we generally feel like we have less power in relationship, seek to confirm or validate a sense of power by subtly getting men to go along with what we want. So a classic example of this is like, will you carry my purse? Like, oh, I like this shirt. I want you to wear it out tonight. And then men are in this position where they can comply, right? And it's like this subtle way of gaining power or a sense of power in relationship. I think the point there is just that if we're not identified with the places where we have power, we might try to get power in ways that are unconscious and like cause shit to be really fucked up. And anyway, I was feeling like, what, I offered to take a taxi, you know, like you said no, like, so it goes. Anyway, this is a detail. The whole motorbike thing is detail. But the point that I'm saying, which is crazy to me, is that he thought because I broke up with him, I had the power. And interestingly enough, I thought that because I broke up with him, he had the power. And it's probably like my desire, right, to continue a friendship, to continue a relationship with this person that makes that hook in me that now feels like he has more power after I broke up with him. Because if it was really just like, fuck you, I hate you, then maybe I would feel like I had a lot of power, like I'd done something strong. But because I want to still maintain a friendship, which is its own kind of like questionable, is that possible, and is its own hook, right, for me, that I'm still looking for something from him, that it made me feel like I was in a sense of not having any power. Because from my perspective, me breaking up with him hurt him. And now he has the option to be friends with me or not. So in my mind, it's like he has all the power, which is kind of crazy, right? If you like really look at it, especially from his perspective. And I think it's related to super trauma from my first relationship, where I did something to hurt the guy that I was with, and he was completely convinced and managed to convince me that this meant that like I owed him for life. And I think had to do with history, right? That more subtle time transporting device, where in this present relationship with the guy that I ended up breaking up with, from my perspective, for most of the relationship, he's had the power. And he's broken up with me before. And he's sort of been the one, in my perspective, like setting a lot of the terms. And I mean, whatever, because relationships are like a fucking universe, right? And have like incredibly vast amounts of information that can be hashed and rehashed. But the point here, the like simple yet long-winded point I'm trying to make, is just that even in this circumstance, in this one like photographic moment, it's easy to see how easy it would be for both of us to identify as the victim. And easy to see that if we did that, all we would do is cycle. And all of our conversations would just be about trying to prove to the other that we were the victim by attacking them with how they'd attacked us and done us wrong in the past. And that maybe the like slight curlicue out of the cycle and into a spiral is this huge and mystifying journey to stay awake to the subtle complexities of where we have more and less relative power in our relationships and in the world, and how to notice this complex interplay and take that giant leap to recognize not only where we're victimized, but also where we may have power, and also listen in what the person is saying, because they're the ones who understand that we have power so much better than we do. Because like I was saying, part of power is that it's invisible to us and we're blind to it and fall asleep to it all the time. And so to actually be able to recognize that, to hear it in the other person and to pick it up, and then how in the world to act accordingly. Man, oh man. Terrence said that relationships are like the yoga of the West, and I really feel that, and I'm really trying to figure out how to act accordingly. And the one thing that I do know about power is just that it doesn't feel good to deny the power that you have. relative to someone else, especially for that someone else. You know, like when you're trying to point out, like, hey, bro, you're white, and someone's like, yeah, but I grew up poor. It's like, yeah, but you're white, you know? And that the shift really happens, or that the conversation really begins when the person can say, yeah, I am white, and that's not all of me, and I grew up poor, and I'm a real person. But part of being a real person involves accepting both high and low rank. So when it comes to relationships, if someone's like, you have all the power in the relationship, and it's like, no, you have all the power in the relationship, then what does it mean to have power in a relationship? And what does it mean to act wisely and intelligently with that awareness? Y'all got any ideas? Let me know. Let me know. All right, you beautiful babes. Thanks for joining me on the beach for sunset. Thanks for letting me yak at you. And hey, check it out. Not to mention that then this whole thing gets compounded by trauma. And one of the things that trauma does is it puts us like in the actual time scale in the past. Hello, hello, hi. Hey cutie, look at you. It's you. There you are. There you are. Hey sweet thing. Bye.